Hi, I'm Matt from AWS, and on today's episode of This Is My Architecture, I'm joined by Reinhold from Blackboard. Thanks for joining.
Hi Matt, thank you.
So tell us about Blackboard.
So Blackboard, now part of Anthology through recent merger, is an education software provider. So we sell educational tools to organizations, government agencies around the world.
Great, and you've been using AWS, you've been in the cloud for many years, is that right?
We have, yeah. We started our journey about 6 to 7 years ago, moving our first application, and then have grown ever since in AWS.
6, 7 years in the cloud, is a relatively long time. I imagine as you've been moving more applications, your footprint has grown.
Yeah, definitely. So we serve about 150 million users in 80 plus countries. So yeah, our footprint is quite large.
Great, and so in these accounts, I imagine you're adding more accounts as you grow?
We do, yeah. We use about 120 accounts right now and have plans to really grow that much larger in terms of numbers.
Great, so 120 plus accounts. I'm guessing you need some type of a baseline configuration for these accounts to kind of keep things secure and keep things operationally efficient? Yeah,
there's really 4 things that we provision in each account that are pretty fundamental for us to stick with our compliance program. It's Single Sign-on, AWS Config, IAM, roles, and CloudTrail logs.
Great. Well, let's talk real quick about how you use each of these. So AWS SSO, I imagine it's for federation for access to the accounts?
That's correct. So we use AWS SSO as a single identity provider within the AWS service ecosystem. We have it connected to Okta, which is our identity provider, and then we're provisioning a single identity in SSO through that.
Okay, yeah, Okta's a great AWS partner, so you're using them as your identity provider connected to AWS SSO. Are you centralizing your identity management?
We are, yeah. So that every user gets a single identity, centralized identity within that system.
And then role-based access, I'm guessing, through
Yeah, so we used to have users and roles within the accounts. Since we moved to single identity, our IAM rules are tied to that single identity within the account, so we've really streamlined that setup.
Great, okay, so streamlined, simplified identity management that's ultimately more secure.
Yes.
And then AWS Config, how are you using that?
So in AWS Config, we really set up our rules for our internal compliance program, and we're setting up the recorder in every account to watch for drift from the rules and make sure the configuration stays up to date.
Okay, so you have config recorders and config rules to detect drift, I guess detective controls if configuration of AWS services change, is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, so AWS Config to make sure everything is set up as it should be and shouldn't change. CloudTrail for centralized log management, I'm guessing?
Yeah, we use CloudTrail for centralized log management to really understand and monitor what's going on in the accounts. And
where do those logs go? Are they going into each individual account, into a centralized account?
So they used to be in each individual account, but now we switched to a centralized account to really start aggregating all the logs in a single place and create sort of a single pane of glass for all of that.
Okay, that's great. So these are great best practices that we want all of our customers to do. At your scale, you said 120 plus accounts. That becomes operationally difficult to do at scale, so I imagine you introduced some automation to help you with that, is that right?
It does, yeah. That's where we really started looking at Control Tower, leveraging both Service Catalog and organizations to ensure that we can automate this setup and not have to do it manually every time.
Okay, so Control Tower is setting up your what we call a landing zone, I guess, with these baseline services and adding the accounts into an organization?
That's correct, yeah.
And how are you using organizations? Are you using different OUs, or how do you have it set up?
Yeah, so we're using different organization units, mostly aligned to our development lifecycle. So we have the development OUs, production OUs, and tying our accounts to that.
Great. And then I guess the last piece here is Control Tower is using Service Catalog for, is it account creation? Is that right?
It's automating all the account creation, yeah, and the provisioning of services inside the accounts, yeah.
Perfect. So you have Control Tower kind of running the ship, a multi-account environment managed by organizations, a Service Catalog for account creation, and then all these best practices you have set up with the individual services within the account. This is really what we want all multi-account environments to look like. It's safe, it's secure, and it's operationally efficient. So nice work.
Yeah, has worked great for us. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
And thanks for watching. This is my architecture.